Hi everyone, this is Chris from Chris Watches Pretty Little Liars, and I did a recording for this episode, and I listened to it to edit it today, and it sounds like I'm talking to you from a trash can, and I realized I made a very big mistake whilst recording. I'm going to let it stand. We're going to let it ride. But I apologize for the terrible recording quality you're about to hear. You still understand me. It just sounds like I'm talking to you from inside a trash can. I wasn't inside a trash can. I just forgot how to use Audacity. Okay.
Chris watches Pretty Little Liars. Chris watches Pretty Little Liars. Chris watches Pretty Little Liars, so he can help you figure out who's A.
Season 2, Episode 19, The Naked Truth. The Naked Truth. And oh boy. Yeah, I'm dubbing this episode Holy Shit because we get so many revelations. Truth comes out in a lot of situations. Some which I was surprised we would get. But let's take it one step at a time. Previously on, we're reminded of Holden's bruise, the principal withholding Emily from rejoining the Sharks, the swim team. Reminder that Noel and Jenna are now an item. I believe I'm going with Noel Lena. I'm also okay with Janelle. But I guess we'll go with Noel Lena. Dad Hastings changed the will. We're reminded of that little subplot. Not quite sure what that means, although we find out tonight. Vivian Darkbloom. Vivian Darkbloom is a person in our world who is Allie. And reminder of the cliffhanger from last episode where Hannah, from her phone, was sent a nude photo of Kate, her stepsister. We open up to a very tense yet very funnily intended scene in the waiting room as they wait to talk to Mr. Tamborelli, who I don't know if we met until this episode. Maybe we have, but he's definitely featured prominently throughout. I stand corrected. Oh no, they are in the waiting room, and then he calls them in. So they're waiting. Hannah's phone goes off, and she's about to reach it, and Ashley looks at her like, don't you dare. Isabel is sitting there with Kate. They get called into Mr. Tamborelli's office. They start to have a little bit of a chat. He says, the funny joke to end this little opening scene is Tamborelli comes out and says, Mrs. Marin, and they both say, yes. Awkward. Cut to Spencer's. They're looking at the Coat of Doom. I guess that claim ticket was a dry cleaning place. So they're a little nervous about touching it. They think it might be haunted. Spencer says something offhanded like, how does A know anything? And I was like, we found out last episode. A has tapped at least half the phones in all of Rosewood, if not every phone, and is listening in at will. Very creepy. But that's how they know what they know. Arya's digging in the pockets, and she finds a phone number. And they're like, we gotta call this. Emily's like, hey, let's not call a random phone number. Emily is dared to call, so she does. So she calls the line, and she gets an automated, like, this person cannot be reached, please leave a number, message after the tone. And so she leaves, actually she doesn't. She kind of hesitates, and then Arya grabs it. And she says, we're a friend of Vivian's, call us back. And it's Emily's phone. And they all look at each other like, was that the right thing? Was that the right thing to do? We cut back to Tamborelli inside the office, and the moms kind of have it out. Isabel, not so subtly, says, this person should be expelled, and it's probably due to their mom not being at home, like a little shot at Ashley. And Ashley is like, her mother is working because she ran off with you, etc. And Tamborelli's like, hey. How about this? Let's not expel anybody, since this is an unusual situation. Let's deal with it at our event called Truth Up Day. This was rather silly. If this were a real situation, I think they would have hashed it out. Hannah probably would have been suspended immediately, pending further investigation. I feel like that's how things really should go. But the fact that he's pushing his Truth Up Day, I don't know. A little silly. Then again, I'm on board. Only because this is the oh shit episode. Holy shit episode. So I'm happy with what we got out of it. But, hey, whatever. We go back into the hallway, and Hannah's upset. And she's like, we got A's phone, now A's using our phones against us, and kind of walks away. And you see everyone kind of like looking at Hannah, and then she kind of turns the other way when she sees Tamborelli talking with Isabel and Kate, which prompts Emily to kind of come up from behind and say, Tamborelli, he's the one keeping me off the swim team, which they're like, oh, that sucks. And Emily makes a comment, how long are we going to pay for discovering that shovel? Ari just kind of saunters around for some reason and wanders into what I think is band practice, and Holden is setting up some sort of thing on the wall, and he asks Ari to help, and she's like, hey, what's up with that bruise? And he's like, never mind. And then she presses a little bit harder, and she says, how come you get to know what my thing is, but I don't get to know what your thing is? And he says, that's the deal. And then he needs to get taxed, so he walks away for a moment, and someone kicks his bag over. And I'll admit, I thought the same thing. What comes out of his bag is a baggie filled with little, smaller items inside it. It does look like the stereotypical TV depiction of drugs. And Holden has kind of this uh-oh face. He goes, I gotta go, and he runs away. As we're prepping for, I guess, Truth Up later tonight, Spencer sees Nolena making out in the hallway, or having little funny times. And then Jason comes around the corner. He says, I'm dropping off old forms. Turns out he was in Georgia, so I don't know what that means. I don't know if A was telling the truth or not. There might be a gigantic plane flying overhead right now. But I'm going to keep going. And then he's like, hey, give your dad a message for me. Have him call me. He keeps dodging me. Spencer's like, why? And he's like, ask your dad about it. Ella interrupts, and she's like, hey, Jason, we're short volunteers for this Truth Up ridiculous thing that Tamborelli made up. Would you please volunteer? He's like, no, I'm washing my hair. And then Ella's like to Spencer, hey, is your parents still coming? And then Jason's like, whoop, 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 whoop. He goes, yeah, actually, you know what? My hair is beautiful as it is. Actually, I might be free. Actually, sign me up. And he kind of winks at Spencer like, I get to find your dad who's been dodging me. Spencer's like, I need to know what the hell is going on here. Cut later to Hannah and Ashley. Ashley kind of visits Hannah in her room. You know, earlier this season, I was kind of excited that Ella and Ashley were kind of on the road to being aware of A. That kind of got lost in our shuffle mid-season here. This is Ashley kind of reigniting that. She says, I will crush anyone that hurts you. This is not the first time you've told me someone has tried to blackmail you or do these things to you, and you gotta tell me what's going on. Who's framing you? And do they have a name? And Hannah's like, no, there's not a name. Now, clearly we're talking about A. And Ashley's still, I think this is a theme this season, she's still a little hurt that her daughter's not confiding in her. And she says, did you do this? Did you actually do this? And Hannah doesn't say anything. Ashley walks out, and Hannah just says, I didn't do it. Truth Up time. I guess everybody has to go to this, although Lucas is still MIA, but I think they have a casting call for everybody this episode. No cell phones, so they're a little worried that they might not get the alley coat messages. That's what I'm calling it this episode, the alley coat messages. We get a little shot of Caleb. Holden is there. And Holden comes up behind Arya and does his little, Josh Groban kind of cute lines. And then he's like, "Wait, are you upset about what happened earlier?" And she's like, "Yeah." She says, "Are you hooked? Are you dealing drugs?" And she goes, "I'm not stupid, Holden." And Holden to Arya is like, "Well, you're not stupid, but you're way off." And then he hops the line, so we don't get to figure out what that was in his bag. Then we see a little quick shot of Kate glaring at Hannah. And then we start to see the group assignments. I haven't decided also what I'm going to call these rooms. Technically, I believe this is group 3, but we see Jenna and Caleb are in this group. Arya walks in the room, and then, so Caleb is already glaring at Jenna. As we remember from the previous episodes, he went to Jenna's house to confront her about the stuff with Hannah. He ran into Garrett undercover. Now he is literally going to be in the same room with Jenna. Arya is there. Ma Hastings runs in running late, and Jason, as if on cue, comes around the corner. He's like, hey, guess what? We're paired up. And he says, is Peter here? She says, no, he's busy, or he's out of town. And Jason goes, oh, darn it. I'm like, well, Mom Hastings will do it. And he says, after you. So they are actually the co-volunteers. It's Jason, Mom Hastings, Jenna, Caleb, and Arya all in the same group. And Caleb says to Arya, like, who's that? And then Arya tells him that's Jason, Allison's older brother. And I guess Caleb probably didn't know that now, but now he's in the loop. And Caleb's like, I got a lot to say. And boy, oh boy, I gotta tell you, when I first watched this, I was like, oh boy, Caleb is not bound by the restrictions of A, at least not yet. So he is a true wild card, which is actually really refreshing to know that he is not going to hold back, and we may get some progress here. Move over to another group. This is group 7. This is the group that Ashley is in charge of, and there's some random extra who is the other volunteer in the background. Mona is in this group, as is Emily, and they're doing some sort of exercise where they talk about maybe things that they're uncomfortable with or things going on at the school. And Emily starts taking these big steps, 2 or 3. And one of the questions is, do you feel sometimes safe or not welcomed here? And she takes 2 steps, and Ashley's like, Emily, it's only 1 step. And she's like, I don't feel safe nor welcome. And I don't think she even makes a comment about Tamborelli, but Tamborelli is kind of in the background, like observing. And she just looks at him and says, I don't feel safe or welcome. And Tamborelli is going to talk to Emily, so he pulls Emily aside. Mona is within eye view. She's watching. Eye view? Sure. And I don't know, Tamborelli, nicknaming him Tamby. He's pretty harsh on Emily here. It was very aggressive. He's like, if don't feel safe or welcome, it's probably because you do that to your teammates. And he says, you're no saint, Emily. What? Where did that come from? He really comes out swinging here, Tamby. Emily just kind of glares at him, and we move back to group 3. And as they're sitting and waiting for things to start, Arya gets a text. Truth hurts, sweetie. May hurt your new pal more than you-A, which I guess is referring to Holden, although it's very vague. We get a quick pan shot of the room. Everyone is still using their phones, by the way, so that I don't know when the phone rule gets turned off. But we do get a shot of Jason with his back to us, so, is he texting? We see Jenna with her hands in her purse. As we know, Jenna can see now. My theory, by the way, my theory. The show hasn't said that, but I'm telling you, she's been able to see since she left to Boston. Anyway, and then she pulls this little magic trick and pulls out a piece of gum and pretends that she was eating a piece of gum. I think it's clear that Jenna was texting there, but we don't know. We don't know. I was watching Caleb every time. He is just glaring at Jenna. He cannot wait. He cannot wait. Then we have a third group. We don't have a number or name for these, but this is Noel Khan. Kate's in this group. Hannah, as well as Ella. And Noel, of course, is making jokes. And Ella kind of brings it back to focus, and she says to Kate, you have like a speaking ball thing. You have to hold the ball to talk, and she says to Kate, what do you miss from your old school? And Kate says, nice people. And everyone's like, ooh. And then Noel says something very creepy and scary. He's like, well, if that was done to me, I'd go postal. But you should put up a billboard to Kate. Again, creepy and uncomfortable and actually quite inappropriate. Many ways there, Noel. Actually impressive how terrible that sentence was. And then he says something about when guys fight, they just punch and it's over. And girls are mean. They have secrets, all this stuff. And he's clearly referring to Hannah. And then Hannah gets frustrated. She grabs the ball and says to Ella, do you think I'm a bully? You've known me my whole life, Arya's mom. Do you think I'm a bully? And Ella doesn't say anything. Technically, she's following the rules. She did not have the ball to respond. But Hannah's like, don't answer. And then she storms off. And Noel is just laughing and chuckling. Noel is the worst. Noel's been the worst for a while. He's definitely the worst this episode. We cut to Emily and Mona back in that group. Emily's like, I know you overheard. Mona asks about Hannah, which I thought was an interesting little detail where she says, how's Hannah doing? Which I assumed meant overall. But it might be that she's using her aid technology to eavesdrop. I don't know. Anyway, and this was a surprise. This is not an oh shit moment, but definitely a surprise. Emily says to Mona, it's a genuine apology. She says to Mona, and we have very few apologies in this show. She says, you know what? I am sorry. Allie was very mean to you. I'm actually getting a little emotional retelling Emily's apology here. She says to Mona, Allie was very mean to you, calls you names, and granted I wasn't the one doing it, but I didn't stop it, and I let it happen, and I am actually very sorry for that. And you see Mona kind of take it in. She doesn't let Emily see her do that. But you see those old wounds both come to the surface as well as maybe a bit of healing. Because it is at that exact moment that Mona turns around and she goes into A mode. She goes, maybe I can help you, to paraphrase. We hop back over to group Jenna, Caleb, etc. Mrs. Hastings is walking around. They're going to do something where they write things on the wall. I even missed this the first time I watched this. They're going to write things on the wall that are like secrets. And later on they'll use like a light to see it. And Jenna doesn't want to participate. You don't say no to Mrs. Hastings. No, I don't care who you are. She's like, well, Jenna, we can have Jason help you if you want. She's like, no, I don't need help. The school is already filled with phonies and liars. I don't trust anybody, basically. Well, there you go. And she goes, I lost faith in this school when I got smacked at the bathroom. And here comes Caleb coming out swinging. He's like, if I may interject here, we're talking about the truth here, right? I think Jenna's forgetting that she threw the first punch. This is my first oh shit. I was like, holy shit. And he goes, by the way, this is Caleb speaking right to Jenna. And Arya's face is just precious. She is like, Caleb, what are you doing? But also like laughing a little bit. It is a perfect mix of all the emotions in this moment. And I was like, holy shit. And that's just the beginning, folks. We cut to Spencer. I don't even know what group is Spencer actually in. I don't know if she actually joins a group. She's kind of running around. She runs into Jason. And she says to Jason, hey, I know about the will. Like, okay, let me just tell you. I already know about that. My dad told me about that, but he won't tell me anything else. And he's like, my dad won't tell me. Will you tell me? Jason's like, ask your dad, and he walks away. We cut to the hallway, Ari and Emily, and I guess it's like a little bit of a break. I guess they try calling again. So they try calling again. Ari calls this time, and there's a female voice that answers. It says, hello? Ari says, I'm a friend of Vivian. And this female voice replies, no one knows her, don't call here again. So they're like, okay, they heard the voicemail, they're on to something. And then there's a PA announcement for Emily to come to the vice principal's office. Shem's like, great, more of this bullshit. As she leaves, Arya leaves. Holden runs up to Arya and says, "Hey, you want to take our lunch break, or I guess it's a dinner break together?" She's like, "No, I'm busy." And then she backs out of their deal. She feels uncomfortable now, and she goes, "I don't want to contribute to you hurting yourself." And Holden looks quite upset. He was counting on it. Cut back to not cut back to. We're cut to the roof, which Caleb calls his patio. Caleb and Hannah are there. Hannah thinks her mom thinks that she did the photo thing. Caleb really wants to help. He asks for her phone. There's a little flutter, and Hannah's like, are you sure we're alone? He's like, yeah, no one comes up here. He's like, let me help you. And she says, just hold me. That'll help me enough. A little bit of a smooch. Then we cut to the vice principal's office. Mona, who, as we know, I think either is head A or co-head A, she goes into full A mode this entire episode. She was the voice over the PA, and Emily's like, wow, you did a good job. She's like, I can impersonate voices. And then she starts hacking into the vice principal's computer. And Emily's like, what is going on? She locks the door. A little coffee in the quad area, which I call the quad. It's basically the moms here chatting. And Ella says to Ashley, I don't think Hannah did this. And a very poignant phrase, Ashley again is like, I think something's going on with our girls, something with what happened to Allison. And Mom Hastings says, it wasn't when Allison disappeared that things changed. It's when they met Allison. And Ma Hastings could not be more correct in that assessment. Come back to the office, Emily and Mona. Mona in deep A shit. There's a Bulgaria reference I did not get, but I got it within the context clues. And she finds evidence that basically, as I'm sure our listeners are not surprised to hear, Tamby, as I like to call him, lets the boys get away with whatever they want. One of them was caught with graffiti. Looks like Dad bribed Tamby with a new chair, which is kind of a lame thing to bribe someone with. But hey, maybe Tamby really appreciates the chair. And son got back on the team without any issue. So Mona is going to use this as blackmail, and Emily's very uncomfortable. This is like A shit. Mona is a hacker and a voice actor. But now they have a way to get Emily back on the team. But Emily's very uncomfortable with it. we got to a random classroom, or maybe it's their room. But Jason's leaving a voicemail. It's like, I know you're here. And it turns out he's leaving a voicemail for Dad Hastings. Mom comes in, and Spencer's overhearing. So we focus on Spencer in the hallway eavesdropping, but we hear Jason and Mom Hastings talking, and she's like, I didn't know this till recently, blah, 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 blah. And they're having a conversation, and then something connects for Spencer. We see this flashback. Allison and Spencer. Allie references a story about someone in Germany who put an ad online for someone to eat them, which a play was made of that story, by the way. Fun fact, if you don't know that. Anyway, the parents are arguing, and then apparently Melissa and Jason, also now connected, were making out at some point, as in the past when Allison was with us. Spencer closes the door, and Allie's like, ooh, I want to hear it. And Spencer's like, no. Dad's making a big deal on nothing. Melissa's way into Ian, and then I got it at this moment, as did Spencer, I guess. When Allie says, this relationship would be frowned upon by the gods, I wrote, oh, shit. We cut to the hallway. We have Hannah, Arya, and Emily. Kate's kind of walking around looking for, a place to eat her dinner, a dunch. And she takes off a sweater, and you see a birthmark on Kate's right side. And Hannah's like, oh my god, let me see the photo. She grabs Emily's phone, she finds the photo, and she figures it out. Somebody photoshopped this. And they're like, well, do you think A photoshopped Kate's head onto a body? And then Hannah's like, what if it was Kate? And I was like, oh, shit. Are we really going to solve this mystery in one episode? I guess we are. And literally, next scene, they're in the bathroom. Hannah confronts Kate. She says, nice job. Next time, find a different body or find something that matches the yourself. Or, I forget the other part of it. Oh, yeah, or be careful when you're taking off your sweater. And then Kate unloads. She goes, what do you expect me to do? Your boyfriend's going to find the photos of me online, which I that was a really strange motivation for such a plan. Almost so strange I don't buy it, but she says, I guess she's worried about this photo leaking of her when she got bit by bugs. At any rate, she confesses. Ari and Emily, pulling a page from A, come out of the stalls, having recorded the conversation. Oh shit! Kate is totally busted. Hannah stomps off. She's like, "We gotta tell Tamby," and then she says to Ari, "You gotta stop Caleb. He's gonna be going into my phone and all this stuff. Like, stop him. He's gonna get himself into more trouble than he needs to. I'm gonna go find Tamby. You find Caleb, since he's in your music room." So almost surreal. I sometimes felt like I was on Holden's Drugs watching this, because we go to the music room, group 3. Noel and Jenna are in the room using the black light on the wall, and we see various messages. I'm assuming one of them might actually be related to one of our characters, but the one that stands out, of course, is someone wrote, "I know who killed Allison." And Noel and Jenna are standing there. Ari's like, "Hey, is Caleb in here?" And they're like, "No." She's like, okay. He's like, "You better not come back here." Noel talking all tough. I think Caleb would kick Noel's ass in a one-on-one fight, just saying. But Arya is not affected at all by their weird threats. She runs off because she's like, oh, he might be on the roof. Holden sees Arya go by. Arya goes to the roof. She opens the door with a brick, and I'm like, this is a terrible idea. This is already a bad idea. This next scene might be the one. This is huge. So Spencer sees Jason in the quad. And I wrote on my notes, ask him. Ask him. She gets a text. "Don't be scared, Spence. We're all family here, some more than others, -A." This one I don't quite understand. That one I don't quite understand. I mean, clearly I know as a viewer where we're headed, but I don't really know why A would have texted that at the moment. At any rate, I guess that could have been from Allie, because I've already said Allie is an A. But I don't know why Allie would care in this moment. At any rate, I wrote on my notes again, ask. The camera kind of zooms around, and we see Caleb is in the cafeteria. So we know Ari is not going to find Caleb on the roof. He's working away there. Spencer walks up, and she says it a few different ways to Jason. She's like, "Did you come back? My dad." And then basically she just says, "Is my dad your father too?" And Jason's response, "Who told you?" I think, did I take up a whole page? It's a pretty big oh shit. Oh shit. Holy shit. Jason and Spencer are brother and sister. So I guess we're saying Peter Hastings had an affair with Mom De Laurentiis? Is that what we're saying? Or maybe it's, I don't know. Who knows? Absolutely wild. I will say, unless I missed clues, a lot of these surprises this episode have not really been teased. Like, there was no way you would have guessed. There's no way I would have guessed that he was her brother until, like I said, 15 minutes beforehand. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I could have pieced it together, but I don't think so. Which doesn't bode well for my A investigation. That said, we cut to the roof. Of course, the door closes. We see some shadows. Ari runs to the door. Of course, it's locked. We see the hoodie vigilante. Some noises, and Ari sees a ladder, and I guess she thinks, well, I'm going to go to the roof. She starts to go up the ladder, everybody, and fucking Noel grabs her ankle. Very scary. And he's like, "Where is he? Where is he?" Yelling at Ari, "Where's Caleb?" And then, out of the blue, Holden roundhouse kicks. I just had the idea. Holden roundhouse kicks. No, he can't be. He can't be a hoodie vigilante. I thought Holden might be a hoodie vigilante. He's not. It doesn't work out time-wise. But he roundhouse kicks Caleb to the ground. Oh, shit. Noel's like, "I wasn't even attacking her." "Dude, you totally were." And Holden's like, "Let's get the fuck out of here, Arya." They run away. They run back inside, and Holden says, "Arya, are you okay?" And she's like, is this part of the thing that you're doing? Is this part of the secret?" And he's like, let's get out of here. Emily's in the cafeteria. I guess that's where they're all going to sleep. She sees Mona and Tamby having a chat. Tamby runs off, and Mona comes back and says, "Done." And Emily's like, "What did you do?" She's like, "I just told them, the football players talk, etc. So I didn't say anything." And Emily's like, "Oh my God, if he knows we're in his office." And Mona's like, Don't worry. I got you, and I just want to go to the swim meets now." She does say, "You owe me a favor," but she makes a joke about it. I think she actually might ask Emily for a favor. Mona doing A shit here. Classic A stuff. Spencer's frantically looking for her mother, because now she knows. Cut to the office. A nice mirror to our first scene. Isabel comes in and is like, to Ashley, "What does your daughter do now? What did she do now? She's doing more stuff to my daughter." And Ashley is smiling from ear to ear. She's like, well, Kate and Hannah are talking to Tamby right now. Door opens, and you see a sheepish? Yeah, that's how you say that word. Kate come out. Hannah go and hugs Ashley. And Isabel's a little confused. But then it's Isabel's turn to go in and talk to Tamby with Kate. And Kate could not be more angry. I'm going to quote Clue, a very, very good movie from the 80s. Flames from the side of her face. Kate is so mad. Now she's connected to Noel. She's absolutely 100% joining the A group. I have no doubt in my mind. And then we see the scene I didn't think we'd get. Spencer confronts her mom. She's like, how come I didn't know? And mom says, Melissa doesn't even know. And Spencer really gets upset with that. And mom basically says, yeah, we have to get past it. And Spencer's like, why? How do we get past it? Mom says every family has secrets, which is a theme of the show, obviously. And she's like, let's go home and talk about it. Let's go talk to your dad. And Spencer's like, I don't even want to talk to my dad. I don't want to look at him. What is home? What she says to her mom. Spencer very upset. I guess it's the lying that Spencer's upset about. I was like, why is she, where is the source of the anger? And I know I'm rationalizing a very piece of shocking news that I don't know how I would react with that kind of news. But I think it's probably more the lying that she never knew. And this person was in her life as a neighbor the whole time. Truth up, dudes. We cut to nearing the end of the episode. Spencer can't sleep. Emily says, are you okay? And then she wakes up to find out she has a whole bunch of missed calls from the secret number. Hannah wakes up, a very funny line, probably my favorite comedic line in this episode. She goes, where the hell am I? And I laughed so hard because I've had that experience sometimes when I wake up, especially in an unfamiliar place. There is that brief moment where you're like, where the hell am I? Very funny, Hannah. Anyway, so they call the number, and they say, is this Vivian's friend? And they have questions. Emily says, well, we have questions. And the guy's like, yeah, I got a lot of questions too, but I don't want to do it over the phone. Can we meet? And they say, yes. So we're going to meet the person on the other end of the line. Our post-credit scene. I don't know if someone was peeping outside. We had the shaky cam outside looking at Spencer. I think that might be the sign that there's a person using shaky cam. I don't know. At any rate, someone's climbing through the people asleep. Caleb is there as well. Someone goes into a bag, which we assume is Caleb's bag, although I don't know for sure. And they remove a laptop. Now, at first I was like, oh, that sucks. At the same time, Caleb's not dumb. Caleb is a backup to a backup to a backup. He would have actually anticipated such a crime from Jenna and Noel. He's no dummy. So while we are supposed to feel a little nervous at the end of this, I am fully confident that Caleb has protected whatever he has discovered so far. What do we think? Well, this was a huge episode. Lots of oh shits. I could not have seen Jason be Dad Hastings' son. Explains a lot between the two houses, right? Explains a lot. Doesn't really solve our main mystery, but explains a lot about why they're all so weird with each other. So I'm not sure what Holden's deal is. Clearly he's taking self-defense classes. I don't know if that bruise is from being a vigilante, or if it's for training, or he is getting bullied by somebody in his life, and so he's protecting himself by taking classes. I don't know. Glad the whole Kate stuff is resolved in one episode. I was actually surprised they went there. I didn't think they were going to make it that Kate did this to her herself, but they did. I'm not sure I buy her reasoning, but she's 100%. Her and Noel are going to be thick as thieves after this. Emily's back on the team. Now she's in Mona's pocket. So maybe Mona and Allie will team up. Maybe Mona is moving away from the evil Team A and moving more towards neutral or Allie Team A. I'm not entirely sure. But that moment, I think it's easily glossed over. But the Emily apology to Mona is very significant. And you can tell it really meant something to Mona to actually hear someone say that to her. Because, like I said, very few apologies in this show. And it's very cathartic. And Holden's kick of doom, also wild. Absolutely wild. And Noel's really stepping up his villain act. He is clearly positioning himself to be the big bad of this season. He's already been taken down once. I don't know who's going to fall at the end of this season. Somebody is. I would love it if Lucas comes clean, because I'm sure he has dirt on Noel. But yeah, I think that's all I got. We're in the home stretch. I think we have 5 episodes left. Like I said in the intro, I'm going to do my best to power through these and then take a little bit of a break and bank some so that you kind of can expect when to listen to these. And I'll give myself a break too. literally and figuratively. Find me on Instagram at Magoogs. I'm not really tweeting at Magoogs, but I still have accounts. Occasionally twitching at Mac to the Gal on Twitch. Mac to the Gal. Yeah, I've said way too much.